Testing. Hello.
Hello, is mine
Hello.
on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's on. So,
Test, test, test.
let's talk about job hopping.
Let's talk about job hopping. If you're bored at work, if you're tired of your job, if you're burnt out,
Hmm.
you're overworked, you're underpaid, you're late every day, and you're gonna get fired.
What?
Yeah, I know people like that. That used to be me. I used to be just like you, kid. Yeah, job hopping. I think if you are not satisfied with your job and you've been there for at least a year, I think if you've done the work and you understand something at your job, if you specialize in something, because I think if you work somewhere and you don't know anything, and you don't specialize in anything, well, you didn't learn anything, you didn't even do any work, you didn't even put in any effort, and you're kind of useless. But if you are a person who works somewhere and you end up learning and you feel like you hit a ceiling, I think it's perfectly fine to start looking for another job after a year or so. And I think that older generations, like our parents' generation, looks
Hmm.
down on our generation because we do job hopping.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what about the boomers that say, why do you job hop so much?
See, the boomers are bootlickers, and they think you need to be at a job for like years and hold out on hope that they're going to promote you, that they're going to give you all the money you want and give you all the things that you wish you had for your loyalty and your service to them as a company. And it's just not true. It's a trap. And if they wanted to give you that stuff, they would have fucking given it to you when they hired you.
Right.
I don't think any job is going to just magically change your life around by sticking there long enough. I think those days are over.
What do you think are some red flags when you're looking for a new job?
Here's a big red
Like on
flag.
the listing,
Oh,
especially.
on the listing. Well, okay, well, one of the obvious ones that I've come across is obviously now the pay. If they don't list pay, it's a red flag. It's probably not worth your time. Another one is if it states something like duties and responsibilities are subject to change at any moment or any time, or some variation of that wording.
Hmm.
That means that they they have poor management. That means that they're understaffed, and it means that they're probably going to delegate jobs and duties to you that are not part of your initial job description,
Hmm.
and you're going to be annoyed and you're going to be taken advantage of.
Yeah.
If it says anything about the work culture and it mentions that they're like a family, usually that means that they're close knit. It's toxic environment because people are probably snitching or backstabbing, and so the only way uh jobs like work culture becomes like that is because they're like doing their best to keep out people that are new. So it only ends up being all these people that feel like a family because they're all like in on this shit together, like kissing ass and just like trying to just get rid of people that are new or challenging like routine or challenging things that are kind of like already in place and set in stone for them. And I think that it also means that they're going to ask you to be like they're going to overwork you and they're going to ask you to do things that are not, what you initially agreed upon for the job.
Hmm. Have you ever experienced that?
Of course, I've worked a bunch of jobs like that where, like when I mean, one thing I was telling you the other day is like, when you already have a job that you're okay with and you're just looking for another job just to see what's out there, it really helps to have that advantage and to have that security already because then you're not going to like compromise your principles or like what you're seeking out in the job market.
Yeah.
You're not going to like bend over backwards for some bullshit employer just because you're desperate to make some money.
Versus when you lose your job or
Yeah.
you quit for no reason and then you're out of a job and then you need a job like ASAP.
Yeah.
Then you're more desperate.
Yeah, and then you work bullshit jobs like that and you get taken advantage of because you're like desperate, right? To like pay your bills and shit.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
agree.
yeah, I think like obviously it depends on your industry. Certain industries, like you do want to stay long enough to get relevant experience and to build up a portfolio maybe, but
I think a red flag
hmm,
is when they don't care if the job gives you a work-life balance.
yeah, they don't like if they don't mention that or talk about it or
Like if they
anything.
don't care and they're just like overworking you and they're like, "Oh, but we have all these perks. Like, there's all these
Hmm.
you get I read somewhere that when you hear that jobs have unlimited PTO or something like that,
Oh yeah, that's a red flag.
that's a red flag
Yeah.
because it also means that they're just going to overwork you, so
Hmm.
you're never going to get the opportunity to
Yeah,
get actual PTO
that's true.
or take time off.
Yeah, because they're gonna do their best to make sure they don't have to pay you to not work.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a perk, but in reality, I think when I used to be on LinkedIn, that's what I read a recruiter say. That's
Hmm.
what that means.
Unlimited PTO definitely is a red flag. I've never had unlimited PTO, but I've worked with people who have it, and I see that they don't ever take PTO.
Yeah, because sometimes the job is just so demanding that you're almost scared to take PTO.
Yeah, or maybe your position is like so essential that
Yeah,
things go to shit when you're not there.
which is not a good thing, actually. I know
It's
some
not.
people think of it as like, oh, well, I'm so important in the company, but it's really like, no, that means you don't have a good work-life balance. That means
Yeah,
you're just working,
yeah, and that's not healthy.
and that's not healthy for sure.
Yeah, honestly, the last few interviews I've done, because I've had the security of a job, I've had the opportunity to be a little bit more bold with the questions I ask at the end.
Hmm.
And that's one of the ones that I always ask the interviewers is like, what does their work life balance look like?
Hmm.
And it really catches a lot of them off guard because now they have to reflect and think about something that's kind of like they probably didn't plan to answer.
Hmm.
And I imagine the other questions that I might have asked or that they try to address, like they have all that shit thought out beforehand.
Yeah, they're like basic generic
Yeah,
questions.
like with their generic answer, right? To just like satisfy your curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think I mean one thing for sure is like most people are bullshitting, right? At their
Yes.
at their interview, they're bullshitting on their resume, they're bullshitting at the interview.
Hmm.
And then you get to the interview and the people interviewing you are bullshitting you into thinking that things are a certain way.
Yeah.
And it's all in the jargon, it's all in like the mannerisms and just the way they like interact with you during the interview. There's a lot of like manipulation and like mind games happening right there.
Hmm.
And once again, like approaching it from already having a job and being like, well, this is not going to make or break me here. I could just be myself.
Hmm.
I could just be loose. I could just be relaxed. I can make some jokes and I could be confident in what I bring to the table and who I am. But I could also just be myself, and that also throws them off because they kind of like want to see you be desperate.
Yeah, they want to see how much you want it.
Yeah, they want to see
It's
how
like that
bad.
commercial. I think it's an insurance commercial where he's like, "You gotta get the dollar" or something
Oh
like
my
that. He
god,
has it like dangling on a fishing pole,
that is it.
and
That's literally it, right?
you gotta get it.
You gotta get it. They know what they're doing.
So they're like dangling this dollar.
Yeah, they're like, you need the money, right? Like, right?
So you have to figure out every way possible to say that you need the money without saying you need the money.
Basically, I think that another red flag. I mean, the unlimited PTO is a huge one. Another red flag is
Oh, you know what? Sorry,
go ahead.
before I forget,
No, go ahead,
because I
baby.
had a really toxic job where I know you think this is a perk, but I think this is actually secretly a red flag.
What is it?
Free lunch.
Oh, free lunch.
Free lunch Fridays.
I think it's a perk depending on the place.
I think it's so far what I've seen is it's a red flag.
It is because they're not going to give you raises.
Yeah,
They're not going to like be incentivized to like have
that's their incentive.
yeah, there's no merit program, there's no like review. They just think that if they reward you with food,
Pizza party.
pizza, it's the pizza party thing. Yeah, it's like the pizza party thing. Like, this morning I was talking with some of my magic friends on Discord, and they're asking about Juneteenth, right?
Hmm.
And some of them have Juneteenth off.
Hmm.
We don't have Juneteenth off, which is kind of surprising to me because one of the presidents is black,
Hmm.
and pretty much half of the service and sales staff is black,
Hmm.
and they're not observing Juneteenth as a company, which is odd to me. But you know what they are doing? They're bringing an In-N-Out truck, so that's like a better pizza party, right?
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. I like it.
I like In-N-Out too. Yeah, I'm excited. But it's like they could have just given us a paid day off, and we could have gone to In-N-Out on our own
That's true. That's true.
instead of bringing an In-N-Out truck
Like
for
what?
lunch.
Yeah.
You know, like you could have just saved the money and gave it to us, but the day off.
So they specifically said that.
They didn't say it's for
Yeah.
Juneteenth, but it's like,
They said on that day.
I mean, we got holidays off that like no one even gets. We got
Yeah.
like,
I never get holidays off.
like what's the last one I
I
got?
work Christmas, New Year's Eve. I work Thanksgiving. Just kidding. No, I don't. But
But you're usually already off on those days, so it doesn't line up nice.
I get floating holidays
Yeah,
when my days off are. But anyway, yeah, I just get the generic, general,
yeah,
federal
yeah, like
holidays.
the obvious ones, right?
Yeah,
I got Martin Luther King Day off. Like
it's a big deal.
that's a big deal. I've never had that off
I
any
had
job.
a dream.
I even had Easter off. They gave us Easter off for some
Yeah.
reason, and they also gave us that other one. There was what was it, Yom
Yeah.
Kippur or something? We got that off. Um, yeah. So I just think that if you are looking for a job, and no, not if you're looking for a job, but I mean, if you want to look for a job, you should. I think also more people should look for jobs in general. I think
Mm.
too many people are are complacent, and they're conditioned and influenced by like, our parents' generation and the baby boomers like that have tried to like make us believe that being a fucking bootlicker kiss ass
It's
is
gonna
gonna
pay off.
is gonna pay off. And it's like that meme, with the clown putting on the makeup. It's like, maybe if I don't take any days off, maybe if I show up early every day, maybe if I do this, like you're never gonna get the recognition you deserve. You're never gonna get whatever you think you're gonna get for being that person. You're not gonna get it. You're gonna just play yourself, and everyone's gonna hate you at work.
Yeah.
And I'll give an example that I've witnessed, like straight up in the worst way.
Hmm.
There's someone at work on one of the teams that I support, and this guy, he's like a kiss ass. He left, came back, and he on his team basically just like takes people's work. He like doesn't give credit where it should be given, and he just tries to take on as many tasks as possible.
Hmm.
And he kind of fucks up for his team, right? Because he's supposed to be leading his team, but instead he's taking all the responsibility and then making everybody look like shit
Mm.
when he could be delegating and sharing the tasks.
But at the end of the day, doesn't that make him look bad?
He doesn't understand that. He thinks that
Because he's supposed to be leading.
he's supposed to be leading, but he thinks that him basically trying to be responsible for everything is going to get him somewhere. And he's trying to get this certain position, right? He wants to get this senior networking position. But he's already made himself so valuable in the position he's in right now that when he's gone, things go to shit on his team. And I was speaking to his boss and one of the other bosses about some other person who quit, and they mentioned, yeah, Luis wants to get the job, but he's never gonna get it. And I said, why not? And they said because he just kisses ass and he's not qualified.
Mm.
So they're not even gonna tell this guy that he's not gonna get it.
That's sad.
Yeah. And from the rest of what they said, it didn't sound like they're ever going to give it to him. So it's like this guy has already put in a year to do this,
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he left for about half a year, and he was with the company for 2 years before that.
Mm-hmm.
So like he's already given 3 years of his life thinking he's gonna get this other position he wants. And they've just straight out said to someone, I'm not a boss, I'm just someone in IT who like, okay, I'm a neutral party, so they can kind of talk a little bit more free, but still it's like that's fucked up. They're letting this guy kind of just kiss ass and embarrass himself, and they're never gonna give him the position that he wants, that he's working towards.
Mm-hmm.
They just take advantage of him. And that's pretty much what most jobs and employers are gonna do to you if you try to do that, to try to fill that position at work. I think that if you are at a job where you have some sort of like freedom or downtime and you've been there long enough where you understand your schedule enough that like instead of being on your phone, being on YouTube or on Reels or just like wasting time basically, you should be trying to learn something that's going to help you get more money at another job. Like you should be reading, you should be like learning a lesson online or doing tutorials or like studying or just doing different things like to try to push yourself beyond where you're at, because it's like if you fall for the old trap that our parents have fallen for and older generations fall for, like you're just going to get taken advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And I've like myself personally, I've I'm trying to make up for lost time now and trying to do those things. And I've had a, an amazing partner like you who's like supported me and pushed me to also do more things. And I see you working and also trying to learn and take advantage of your time at work that where you're not working to do things to better yourself. And it's like it's true, like if you're not active at these things, like you're never going to be what you want to be or where you want to be. It's not going to happen. Like you can't just manifest things with your mind. Like you have to actually put in the work, in the action, and actually be proactive about this stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with looking for another job. I think you should do it. I think you should go apply. You should work on your resume. You should lie on your resume. Fuck it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I had never even thought to do that until I was with you.
A lot of people actually don't think to do that, and a lot of the people, their resumes that I fixed up, I've lied, and people get nervous,
Mm-hmm. It's scary.
and then they end
Could
up
you get
getting the
checked?
job,
Yeah.
and
And they just learn the skills on the job anyways.
yeah, it's not like I'm over exaggerating
Oh
on the
yeah, you're like
skills, like
Harvard graduate,
yeah, I'm
MIT.
just like sprucing it up a little, spicing it up, putting shit that people usually wouldn't background check.
Yeah.
In your case, I guess maybe they did.
Yeah,
It
backfired on
wasn't.
me,
It's
but
not like it was a master's
it wasn't.
degree.
Yeah, it was.
Anyway,
Anyways, it was a long story short. I got checked for some bullshit
that I lied about.
that she lied about, but I luckily,
You
yeah,
know.
someone was watching out for me.
Yeah.
Um,
You also saved your ass.
I also saved my own ass, and I also one thing is like I know how to carry myself and communicate in the workplace, and that really saved my ass in that position
Hmm. And
because
I
they went off of
honestly
that.
I feel like we've talked about it though. Like, I don't think, and I don't know if you would have even gotten the position if that wasn't on your resume.
That's possible, yeah. I think that little embellishment was a nice addition. Um,
So I don't know.
I mean, I think I know it came down in the wire for this job, so it's possible that that might have tilted the tilted it
Sometimes
towards my
I
favor.
want to say, not this doesn't apply to life, just maybe like the work life.
Hmm.
It's better to ask for forgiveness later.
Oh my God, what? You're like trying to be specific. Doesn't apply to anything else, just to work.
Just work.
I think when it comes to work, yeah,
When you're like job hopping and you're looking for a job, I think it's better
ask
to
for
ask for
forgiveness
forgiveness later.
later. Yeah, but not other parts of your life, definitely
Well,
not.
that's why I was
Yeah.
specific.
No, yeah, I'm just reminding the audience, our live audience.
Yes.
Um,
Studio audience, Kobe.
Studio audience, Kobe. What do you think, Kobe? Do you think you should ask for forgiveness now or later?
That's yeah.
Um,
So, I mean, Yeah, I think also just weighing out your pros and cons and strategizing, timing it correctly. I feel like timing is, you have to do timing perfect, especially when you have a job and you're looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything needs to line up for you to do that transfer, you know. At
Yeah,
least in my like in my head, I feel like that's what I need to do. Some people are actually more bold and they'll just like do the leap, you
yeah,
know.
they just bounce. Yeah, I think all those factors are kind of important. Um, like your job doesn't define you. Your job is like, unless it's something that you absolutely love doing and you've dreamed of doing it, that's different. But if your job is just something to pay the bills and you've found yourself like slowly moving up in that field, like at the end of the day, it still is just a job. And I think that sometimes, people we're too occupied with like associating our self-worth with our job. And like, I mean, you and I have both talked about this, right? Like, there's nothing worse than meeting someone and like one of the first questions they care about is what you do for work.
Oh yeah, I can't stand that question.
Because you're like, I can kind of already tell what type of person you are
Just oh yeah,
based off that question.
so based off of what you're asking me, what do you do for work? I could already tell that you're kind of a dick.
Yeah, you're kind of like
Because
shallow or you're like,
that's how you're gonna value
you're
or
superficial.
yeah, you're gonna see my value.
Like they're deciding if you're worth
Hmm.
any of their time or whatever is happening in that moment. And it's like, yeah, like I don't really ask someone what they do for work until I've heard enough about other parts of their life
Yeah,
where I become
same.
curious.
I do the same. I usually like to just like get a good vibe off of people
Yeah.
first, and then I'll ask them what they do for work.
Now, if someone starts like telling me they're doing crazy shit, and I'm like, how the fuck, like, how do you afford that? Like, then I'm
Yeah,
like,
like
well,
what are you doing
what
for
do you
work?
do? Like, what the hell? Like, what do you mean you just bought a house and then you got a fucking Tesla and then you came back from fucking Germany? Like,
Yeah.
what do you do for work?
Hmm.
What do you mean you have kids? How do you afford that? Yeah, like, yeah, I don't respect people that ask that shit right away because you already know that they're just not gonna be worth your time either.
Yeah, usually.
They're caught up in that fucking like grind mentality.
Or they're like caught up in like, oh, do you have like a six-figure job or like, yeah.
Yeah, like you have a six figure, like, oh, you don't work for a company, like, oh, it's like people that ask like, I feel like you don't hear this anymore, but maybe when we were younger, and obviously younger generations were probably used to hearing like, what'd you go to school for?
Hmm.
And it's like, well, not everybody goes to school anymore, and everybody has a degree.
Yes, true.
Um, yeah, I think people shouldn't be afraid to job hop. I think I think, also gaps on the resumes and shit like that. Like if you applied for like a job with the old work culture, then yeah, they're gonna care about shit like that. But like nowadays, shit happens. Like the fucking pandemic happened and people were out of work.
Hmm.
So like you can't really worry about those things anymore. Life just happens and that's the excuse. Like obviously, if you have like a 5 year, 7 year work, like that's different.
Yeah.
But if it's like you had a year or two where you were like, not able to put experience on that resume, or you worked under the table or some shit, like there's nothing wrong with that. I think as long as you're like taking action on your future and just like trying to get ahead and trying to remind yourself that you're worth it, and then telling people that you are capable and worth it, then there's no reason why you shouldn't get where you want to be.
Hmm.
Um, I think that I mean, like I know, like for instance, like my parents are very against job hopping.
Yeah. At first, my mom was really against me job hopping when I was younger.
Same,
She was like, why do you keep moving jobs?
yeah.
Like, cause I don't want to work for the yogurt store that long, mom.
Like, how long do you want me to work at the fucking yogurt store? I know. It's for real. Like when I was like a pizza delivery guy, my mom's like, you're only gonna be there for a year. Like, yeah, I'm only gonna be here for a year. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, and I tried all types of different fucking jobs. I tried all types of dead end ones. I tried ones that had like, potential to move forward, and
Mhm.
I just moved on if I didn't feel it or I wasn't good at it or I just felt like it just didn't match up, with like my life.
Yeah.
And
But after a while, actually, my mom also was the person to remind me too, you don't need this job.
yeah,
Like, so don't settle for bullshit.
yeah, you can't settle for bullshit. I mean, unless you absolutely have to, but there's honestly no reason why you should.
Yeah. And so I was like, you're right. But that was when I was like going to PCC and stuff, and she
Yeah,
was just like, you don't even need this job. So,
yeah,
because my boss was being an asshole and like,
hmm
yeah, he was crazy. I hate him. I'm glad he lost his business,
yeah.
and
Fuck,
I'm glad
fuck penguins.
Silver Lake Ramen took it over.
Yeah, have you guys ever? I mean, it's over, right? There's no penguins anymore, so
I don't. I think the
they weren't a franchise,
Penguins.
right?
I think they're yeah.
They were one of a kind.
I don't think they were a franchise.
Damn.
They were supposed to
Rest in
be or
peace,
something. I don't
penguins.
know. I
Penguins.
don't ask me about that shit. The
Anyways,
penguins are extinct.
the penguins they're done. They're buried,
Yeah.
buried in the ice, covered by Silver Lake ramen.
But yeah, so I just like yeah, I'm totally for job hopping. I
Yeah,
say get your experience, like especially if it's a decent job, do your 1 year service, and then
at least, right?
if usually by a year you can gauge what the company's going to do. They're going to give you raises, promotions.
Hmm
What if they're not doing any of that shit? If they're doing empty promises like initially from your interview and they're not following through. That's when you get your resume ready and you start going. That's exactly what I did at the dental office.
hmm
They promised me all this stuff and they're like, you're going to be the manager at this new office that we're building and you're going to get benefits, you're going to get all this shit.
hmm
And
Just never came to fruition.
it was already time to be almost a year. And they had actually told me and two of my other coworkers the same exact thing. And it was like, so, okay, so all of us are going to be in charge of this office now. And at the end of it, the new office opened and they gave it to someone else.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
And they gave it to someone else that had been working for the company for like 10 years. And it's like, yeah, that was kind of
Like
obvious.
that made sense. Why
That
would you lie to the new people?
that was obvious that that was going to go to him. So like, why did you lie to us? And then like on top of that, like you promised us these other things. And I had told them, I was like, you know what? Like I want a job that has benefits. Like I'm an adult already. I pay rent
You need benefits. You need insurance.
and
You need
after
retirement.
I left, my coworker that stayed behind ended up telling me that they gave benefits
Like right after.
after.
Yeah, that's just your
They
luck, huh?
started giving people benefits. They got people like reimbursements for stuff and yeah.
That's so crazy. Yeah, I mean, it just didn't work out. It
No,
didn't line up.
it was totally a good thing though.
It
But
just didn't line up.
yeah, and then my other friend he had left too, so that was also scaring them. And then because my other friend left and I left, the one that stayed behind ended up getting like a huge raise. She got like a $12 pay
That's
increase.
crazy. She was loyal. She paid off for her.
I
But they were
mean,
kind of desperate, right?
she was down to leave. She was actually telling them she was thinking about leaving and
Damn.
this, and so she honestly got
She
there.
forced their hand, huh?
She was there in such a perfect opportunity to just like take advantage of it.
It's all thanks to you.
Thanks to me and another person.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to you and Lance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's bullshit too that a lot of jobs will try to match you or raise your pay when you try to leave. And it's like you should have done that when I got hired. You should have done that
When you said you were going to do
when you
that.
said you were gonna do it. You shouldn't do it at the end when I'm trying to leave because then it makes you look bad. And a lot of jobs will do that and then they'll slowly try to fire you
True.
because they
Or they'll overwork you.
or they'll overwork you because they're like, okay, you kind of put them in a position where they had to fold, and now they're like, well, we could
No, they
still,
don't. We don't trust you.
yeah, they don't trust you now, and they're like, well, we could still pay someone less to do the job because we paid you less to do the job,
Mm-hmm.
and you might just try to leave at any moment. So then they'll start resorting to trying to like not get rid of you, but to
It's.
prepare a replacement.
I think for the employee, it also leaves like just like a bad taste in their mouth because I, it's almost like a when you're in the end of a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and this happens to girls a lot because it's always the guy's fault.
Mm-hmm.
Where they're like, you just don't put effort in, you don't try, you don't do
Mm.
this and
And then they
that.
start doing all this shit,
And
right?
then at the end, the girls are like in the movie we just watched, like she's already ready to pack her bags,
You was packing your
and
bags,
she's like, I'm out, like
and
I'm
then he
not gonna
turned it
do.
around
And
last
then
last
and
minute.
then the guy just comes in and turns it around last minute because it's
Yeah,
like, why did you wait this long? And
yeah,
for a lot of people, for me at least, maybe this isn't for everyone, but like I'm already over it.
yeah.
You already pissed me off,
I'm
and
out.
if I already packed my bags, then I'm not gonna
Stick around
stick
and
around.
entertain this bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true. I agree with that too because it's like you're leaving for a reason, and most people aren't just leaving because
yeah.
they're underpaid.
There's been other opportunities for that to like be like, oh, we'll give you a raise, or the
Like it's a pattern,
yeah,
and you recognize the pattern. You're trying to like escape from their bullshit.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that more people should try to job hop. And I will say, like myself personally, you've kind of helped me get the job hop like algorithm going,
Hmm.
and I've like doubled my pay twice since I've done that with you. And like I'm not someone who has like a college degree. I don't have like years and years of experience. I just kind of like did my best to learn what I can on on the job, and then try to get certificates and stuff. And I've managed to like somehow find myself in this position where I'm like looking to make even more money now.
Hmm.
And I think if I could do it, I think anybody could fucking do it because I've had like the most inconsistent and just like craziest job history of like most people I know. And I think that you shouldn't be afraid to, assert yourself and like understand your value. Now, I don't think if you think I'm an idiot and you are thinking like it's that easy, well, you're probably dumb because I'm
Yeah,
not an idiot.
you're not.
I've just made some really stupid decisions, um, like a lot of people, and I'm kind of like paying for it now as a fucking adult. But I think if you got a good head on your shoulders and you're determined and you're ambitious, I think you should like not be afraid and you should take that leap. So if you're listening and you're trying to get the fuck out of your shitty job, just do it. Just start applying. Just
Yeah,
start
work on
applying.
your resume, compare your resume. I feel like enough people.
Or hit up Alexis to fix your resume and she'll do it for cheap.
I know I'm gonna start charging
Yeah,
because
not
like
super cheap. I mean,
affordable.
affordable, better than ChatGPT.
But I'm definitely gonna start charging for this shit.
I will say that Alexis has worked on my resume, both the formatting and the design. And I will say that multiple interviewers and recruiters have said it looks immaculate. I even had one person say that it. I mean, I have some freelance graphic design experience on mine. They thought that's why it looked like that. They're like, "Oh,
Hmm.
it's because of your background." And I was like, "Sure."
I'm just taking my credit.
Well, what the hell am I gonna sit there and be like, "Yeah, I didn't make my resume." Like, come on,
Yeah,
I'm like gonna throw myself on the bus to give you credit at a random interview.
I
Maybe
mean,
later.
what?
But to everyone else, yeah, they can know.
Yeah. So I just feel like I don't know, something I'm good at. I feel like I should charge people for it. I'm not gonna do that shit for free anymore.
Okay, well, I mean that's not the main point, but yeah, if you guys need help with your
So the
resume,
point is,
hit up
I'm
IBS.
selling resumes.
She's selling custom pre-made resumes. And you can
Um,
determine your lie level,
yeah. If
how
you
how honest you
want
want it,
extreme lie, let me know.
and
I'm
we'll
gonna
give it a
charge
test.
extra.
You should actually charge less if it's an extreme lie.
No.
Really?
Because if it's an extreme lie, that means that you might, it's like a 50-50. You might either get a
Oh, it's
really
like a
good job
gamble.
or
It's
you
like
might
a
not.
so she's like the Vegas of resume creation.
But if you just want a little lie, little
Just
lies,
a little lie, little baby lie.
just charge the average
Yeah,
price.
it's just a small fee. Yeah, I think yeah, people should fucking just grow some balls and just do it, make the leap.
Also, a lot of people think they're good at making resumes. I know this sounds funny, but I just feel like
And it's ironic.
I've heard, I know it is ironic.
Yeah,
So I've heard a lot of people say they're good at making resumes. Then afterwards, I'll ask them, "Oh, send me your resume."
and you look at it, it
And I look at it,
sucks.
I'm like, "Oh my God, how the fuck did you get a job?"
I mean, I believe that because I'm not fucking horrible, but I'm definitely not as good as you. And I've seen some of my friends' resumes and other people's or family members, and they're like, "Yeah, help me get a job." And I'm like, "What? Like, you can't send this to anybody. Like, what the hell? Like, what's wrong with you?
Did you even look at
Like,
it?
what did you make this in MS Paint? Like, what the fuck is this?"
No, not even that. I mean, I've come across a few resumes where it's just like repeating shit and it's like not even spell
Or
checking.
they put like their high school education on it, and like, you're like 30 years old. Why are you putting your high school education on here? Like,
Well, first of all, that's not a complete no. So, depending on your education level, if you only have high school education, you should put that you have at least a high school diploma.
really?
Yes.
You should just like they're gonna ask you in the application anyways.
Right, but I mean, it's something you can mention. I've looked
Do you think it
over,
depends on the job you're applying for?
yeah, obviously. It's always going to depend on what field, what like yeah, like field you're in, what job it is. But for the most part, and I always do research on like recruiting, on resumes, on how, every few years people are looking for a different type of resume, which is why it's important to update your resume. So I always do like that research on what like recruiters are looking for. I follow recruiters.
Maybe you should be a recruiter.
No, I don't want to be. Because I think they only get paid commission.
Really
But I'm not really sure. I'm not really
interesting.
sure. But anyway, so I do keep up to date on what like trends are in resumes and what people are looking for, what people are not looking for. As far as like objectives, depending on what job most of the time you don't really need an objective.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. And then yeah, for education level, depending again, yeah, put your high
It's
school diploma.
let's not give away too many secrets.
I don't care.
I don't want to give
I'm
too many
not
secrets.
gatekeeping shit.
Let's gatekeep.
You don't have to call me. You don't have to message me if you don't need help.
Let's
But
gatekeep this
I'm
shit.
just being upfront. If you're gonna try to update your resume and you don't want to call me for help, that's fine.
Someone's gonna
But
listen to this and be like, "That's not true. That's bad advice."
but
And if
just do
you're
your
listening to that, then do
research.
your own shit.
No, it is true.
Do your own
Actually,
shit.
I do this research. But I'm just saying I'm being upfront because it's like, yeah, do your research before, especially whatever field you're in. Look at other templates, look at other examples, look at multiple. Don't just look at one example. So that's my advice.
I agree. I agree with that. Research is important.
Yes.
Not only is research important, but what's also important, I'm gonna talk about something when you're trying to move out of like your entry level jobs at like franchises or things like that, or retail positions, and you want to
Mm-hmm.
move into like corporate environment,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons. And I think one thing that you need to prepare yourself for is how to talk to people. Because
Mm-hmm.
one thing that I
That's important.
observe, yeah, one thing I observe is people that can't shut off their ghetto switch. They like can't shut off their like they don't know how to use their inside voice. They don't know
They don't know how
how
to code switch.
yeah, they don't know how to code the code switching is 100% important in the
Yeah.
workplace because you see how easily you are dismissed by like management and HR and all these people that have power over you when you don't understand how to code switch and you're taking it for granted that like, oh, they hired you as you are. No, no fucking job hires you as you are. They're hoping you're gonna come on and actually be
Better.
better, and you're not gonna be
And
like,
elevate.
and yeah, like you're not gonna show up and be like yelling in the hallway like, damn fool, last night was crazy. Like you can't be like that on your phone on speaker having conversations in the
True.
restroom or like walking down the hall just talking shit about fucking how drunk you got at B Dubs last night. Like,
Yeah.
and I hear people at work talking too much, and
Sometimes I talk too much too.
you talk too
I'm
much.
loud.
Yeah, but you don't work with a lot of people. You like you have a small team, so I feel like you can get away with that. At at my job, there's a lot of people that just they just all gossip. So if you talk too much, everybody knows your business. Everybody knows, oh, so and so talks too much and says too much about their personal life. And then when you try to like take a day off or like some shit happens,
Somebody knows your real shit.
yeah, someone knows your real shit and is gonna talk shit or tell the truth.
She's not really sick.
Yeah, like there's this fucking bitch that always calls in. I've told you about her so many times. She always calls in,
Mm.
or she comes in super late, and she always like tries to act like, oh, it's because she has kids, and it's like, bitch, everyone has kids. Like, I mean, I don't, but it's like, come on, like I grew up with my mom, like at work when I'm getting home from school, and no one's home because they're at work, so she, she's a white lady who lives in Manhattan Beach, and she thinks the world revolves around her white ass kids. So she fucked up by telling everybody her business that, when she works remote, she's making breakfast for her kids and shit. So now it's biting her in the ass.
Oh, good.
And there's a lot of people like that at work who just talk too much. And luckily for me, I'm like, I'm not in any of these apartments. I'm just in IT. I have like, some privacy, and like I'm in my office just chilling, doing my work and taking care of shit. And I'm just trying not to talk to anybody because I don't want them to know anything about me.
Yeah, that's important.
Like, I don't want them to know anything about me. So I think you have to protect yourself in the workplace. Shouldn't talk
True.
too much. You need to learn
True.
how to code switch.
True.
You need to learn how to articulate yourself. You need to
Mhm.
learn how to communicate in an effective way. Learn how to write a fucking email.
Mhm.
And
Oof, that's important.
yeah, learn how to write an email. Learn how to address people and how to like, maybe put a signature, throw the signature in the email. Don't be lazy, like
Definitely.
I'm not saying those things are going to get you far. I'm just saying they're going to really help. They're really deterministic of how you get treated in the workplace.
Mhm.
And that's important because when you work for a company, it's all political. Everything's fucking political.
Yeah,
And you don't want to be the one dumb motherfucker that can't catch on to the game.
because yeah,
Because everyone will be able to tell.
it sucks, but it's like you really do have to conform to this like corporate culture to keep getting more money.
You gotta put the skin suit on.
You really do. Because, like, I remember I was telling you not too long ago about how people were making fun of Mario Lopez because
Oh, because he code
cause
switches.
he code switches. And people were putting him on blast and saying, like, he's a fake and he's a
They're
phony
ghetto.
because I think he was out, like, eating tacos with his friends and
And
they
he
were
was
just
being a
drinking
fool.
beers and he was just like, yeah, he was being a fool. And they were just like saying like he's a fake and shit and
Yeah.
he's a poser or whatever. Which I don't know. He might be, but also he like he pointed out like, I don't know what everyone's talking about. Like people don't know me and I do have to code
And
switch
he's Latino. He
to
was
stay
born and raised in LA.
in this business. I have to code
Yeah.
switch and
I mean, he was on fucking E. Like, come on. You
yeah.
can't be on extra like, today we saw fucking, like, you can't be like that.
Yeah, and so I thought that was really important for him to mention because, yeah, it's true. You do have to code switch. Like, you're in entertainment, and unfortunately, like, yeah, that's
You
not
have to code switch.
a, a
Yeah.
generic way to speak.
Let's talk about the people that are criticizing him. Like the
It's a
people,
lot of Latinos. It's the same
it's
people.
Latinos.
It's the same people
I
that
mean, black
hate
people do
the.
the same shit
It's
too,
the
though.
same people that hate Jennifer Lopez. Like
Yeah.
still, like
Well, Jennifer Lopez is whack, but
I
she's
know,
she's actual phony.
I know, but I'm just saying it's like the same Latino people are the same Latino people that are hating on Mario Lopez
Yeah.
because a lot of the times we kind of just like hate on our own people.
Yeah. We just like to point and laugh. Like
They're fake.
it's
And
it's
it's
like
like, damn, like that's why there's not that many successful Latinos
there's
because
not,
we all just like hate on each other.
and also like the refusal to participate in the bullshit is like, well, that explains why you're kind of like not. A lot of us aren't doing anything because they're like too proud, and it's like, why are you so proud? You're proud to just like sound like you don't know how to carry yourself. Like it's all a fucking game,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't want to participate in it, then sure, figure it out. But you can't like criticize someone for trying to get ahead and learning how to
Yeah,
play the game. And code switching is part of that shit. If you're not a white person, you
true.
gotta fucking code switch. Otherwise, you're not gonna make it. You're not gonna
Mm-hmm.
make it in a traditional sense. You're gonna have to carve your own
True.
path to success, and that's fucking hard. And most people fail and end up doing some bullshit, or they end up having to just like compromise or settle. And it's like if you're in a trade, I think that's the best situation for people like that because you can make a lot of
People
money.
like that? What do you mean?
People that don't want to code switch and participate in the
Oh, right.
political,
Like
like
electricians.
psychological game. But even at that point, if you want to get ahead, you
Mm.
have to still participate eventually.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to be lowly, a low level. But, who the fuck wants to be low level?
I mean, there's some janitors that like make really good money and they don't have to code switch.
No, they don't. But,
I'm just saying.
you know,
But you do. At the end of the day, everybody kind of has to code switch
with
to
someone at work,
to have
the
any job,
boss.
even if you're a janitor. If you think
Of
about it, like
course, yeah.
you still have to talk to your boss. Like
What if you're the janitor at like a university, like
yeah,
you're the janitor at a fucking company. Like you can't just be yourself all day long in
yeah.
front of
You
these
have to be
people.
some sort of professional.
You can't be yourself.
You cannot be yourself in the workplace,
You
and
should if you're not white, don't be yourself.
it's just like, yeah, I think it's important to, yes, be true to who you are, but also know when
There's a time and place.
there's a time and
There's
place.
a time and place.
And it doesn't mean you're fake.
And it
It
doesn't
just,
make it right either.
yeah,
I'm
it
not saying
definitely
that this
doesn't.
is like this is the way things should be.
But
This is
it's
just the reality.
just like how you have to kind of play the game.
Exactly. It's the reality of our life. It's the reality of work in America and especially in LA. Like we are a diverse city and county, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that when you work at a job, most of your managers and people above you aren't going to be minorities.
Hmm.
And you have to code switch. And if they are minorities, they learn how to do that shit and they're going to look down on you for not participating in
They're
it.
gonna look down at you almost even more.
Yeah, they're going to be like, wow, so you
So I did it, and
and
you
you
can't
can't do this
fucking do
shit.
it.
You can't for a moment just like let go of your dumb fucking bullshit excuses and patterns. Like you
Yeah,
can't identify that you are stuck in this fucking condition that you've let
yeah.
your culture put you in.
I think minorities are almost harder on other minorities.
We are, and rightfully so.
I don't know if it's
You know,
rightfully so, to be honest.
I think it's a
Because if I were
little.
to look at that in a different way, so if I were to say, like, because I was thinking when we were talking about this right now, like how the Mexican mom is harder on the girl
Oh
than
yeah,
she
and
is
then the
on the
son.
boy.
Well, yeah, most right,
And
most
it's just
traditional.
like that's very true. And it's like you didn't have to be that hard, you know?
Yeah,
You didn't have to go that hard.
yeah, you didn't have to do it. But
But anyway,
I think this all. I mean, this is all like you know, this is all cultural and
totally.
racial stuff. Like we're like this because it's kind of like we're all forced into a cage together.
You know what's crazy is that like when you're a minority, you have to spend time and waste time thinking about this type of shit. You think
Yeah,
about it?
yeah, for sure.
Like your
Because
energy, your time, just even talking about it, just thinking about it, processing. Like, a white person, a normal, like not a redneck or anything, just like a regular suburban white person,
they
they
don't
don't
even.
spend time. They actually spend the time getting better at their job or
Yeah.
getting better at a skill.
Well, they're not worried or self-conscious about, am I going to
Yes.
say the wrong thing, or am I going to say something with like a weird
And that's
accent,
what's
or
fucked
say
up.
something wrong
Yeah,
at work? Like,
it's
am I
fucked up.
they're not worried like, am I articulating all of my consonants? Like they're not worried about that shit because they take it for granted because that's just already how they are.
Yeah,
And like
like they don't have to worry about that.
they don't, that's the
And
bias,
that's
being
the
white.
fucked up part about white people versus minorities. And you think about just like any type of minority, like a handicapped person, they're like, oh, I have to make sure they don't think that I'm not capable of this.
Yeah.
Or like a person with like a mental disorder, they have to hide and mask like, whatever is wrong with them or whatever
Mm-hmm.
is challenging. Um, or just like, yeah, like when you're a black or a brown person, you have to mask like,
Well, the biggest one, I've seen, like for black women is like their hair.
oh, that
They get
too.
criticized for their hair in
True,
the
true.
workplace. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, it's kind of bullshit that even the way you present yourself
Straight
has to
and
be pre-thought,
sleek.
and has to be.
It has to resemble like a white person because like a person with straight hair, like this is including Asian girls. Like you can just walk into an interview with your straight hair and it looks professional. But like for someone with curly hair,
Yeah.
spiral curls, like, it's just like you have to plan actually so many hours in advance to make it look like you're professional. You
Yeah.
sometimes even have to hurt yourself. Like I've had times where I'm going to interviews and I have to like comb my hair and it hurts and I have to like put gel or like
Mm-hmm.
pin things back and it's like and then my head fucking hurts
Yeah.
because like my hair naturally doesn't look professional and I've
Yeah. Your
always
hair's
noticed
big
that.
and curly.
I've always noticed that throughout my whole life of just like having to go to interviews. Like my hair just doesn't look professional naturally. And I've always been self-conscious of it. And I've always had to spend a lot of extra time just to like make it look normal. And even then it's fucking frizzy. So it's like,
Yeah, you get judged for it because what hair is like a huge, like culturally, I feel like the way it's perceived in society, but like women's hair is very interesting. Like a woman who has very straight, dead, flat hair, like even though she's not, will appear to be maybe more conservative or
yeah,
more just like professional in the
yeah,
workplace. And like a woman that has like big hair, like they might be like, oh, this is some fucking
ghetto
dumb
bitch.
boozy whore who's like coming
Yeah,
in here, like, and it's like, what? Like I just have fucking wavy hair. Like what? How are you assuming all that based off of my hair?
yeah,
But it's like it really goes to show like the conditioning that's ingrained. Like
yeah.
people.
Just like in the workplace, we have to like appease and conform to like this generic look
Yeah,
and sound of what the workplace is supposed to be like.
yeah, and people try to just play the
And
part the
a
best they
lot of
can.
minorities struggle with that.
Yeah.
And we have to spend time having these conversations of like what's right and what's wrong, or like, being self conscious and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of sucks.
And it's exhausting.
Because we waste more time on shit instead of getting better at shit,
It's true.
We're
And
just getting better at masking.
yeah, and it's exhausting because you you don't get to just respond and react to the world around you the way you normally would because
Yeah.
you have to be worried about how you're being perceived constantly.
Hmm.
So then you're even more exhausted from work and
Yeah.
you're even more tired from having to deal with people in these social situations. And I was talking to a friend about this recently about I was talking to a white friend about this about getting upset, getting upset with people and getting upset with white people specifically. And
What?
they were like, "Why didn't you like?" I was upset about something I was explaining, and they were like, "Well, why didn't you just damn like why didn't you say what you wanted to say?" And I'm like, because if they if they weren't white, I probably would have felt more comfortable being confrontational. I said, but when you're not white, you're kind of raised to not react that way in front of white people.
Mm-hmm.
You're like raised to like you don't want to come like I know my parents were always like afraid like you don't repeat that or what we said or don't say what I just said and
Mm-hmm.
don't act like this in front of white people. You can't act like that in front of white people.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they would even like throw like Asians in the mix like at school because would judge us too, you know,
Yeah.
like don't you can't react this way in front of them because you're going to be judged like this or you're going to make us seem like this.
Yeah.
And like white people don't have to worry about that in front of other white people. They're just like I mean what they worry about what like coming off like a redneck or something, but like what's the chances of that? You know, like that's in this
Yeah, that's
part of
like
the
way
country.
extreme.
Yeah, like in this part of the country that's not like a huge concern, I'm sure. But for minorities it is like you don't I'm sure black people deal with it a lot worse too because they're like they don't want to come off like oh they're acting fucking crazy in black like
Yeah,
just because they're standing up for themselves or because they're like
like how people will stereotype them.
yeah like
Yeah.
yeah so I don't
And I
know
think that really stands true with like especially black women
oh yeah they get the worst right
because of the
the
stereotype
crazy
of
black woman
yeah,
stereotype
like well, and so then they almost have to be more self-conscious of like how they confront their peers, especially
yeah
in the workplace.
black women are good at code switching. I will
Yeah.
say that I've witnessed a lot of them are really good at it and when they get a chance if they meet someone at work
hmm
who sees it they appreciate it
Yeah.
like they'll keep it real with you
hmm
and it's funny because you're like you kind of give them like some breathing room, you know,
hmm
like you don't gotta, you know,
You gotta do that in front of
you gotta
me.
do that for me. And they're like, "Ooh," it's just like seeing a woman taking her girdle off or something, like
Yeah.
the breath of like relief.
Yeah, I've seen it. They are good at it.
Yeah, I mean, men were we're bad at it, just that in general, and black men are bad at it. Mexican men are fucking horrible at it.
Oh God. Mexican men are really bad at it actually.
They're
They're probably
horrible.
the worst
It's so
out of
crazy.
everyone. Like the minorities,
Yeah,
they're probably the worst because it's even when they try, sometimes it's just so bad.
it's tough. It's tough.
It's so bad.
I mean,
Like you remember that the little guy that pretended he sold you the car?
yeah,
Like he tried to make it appear as if he was code switching and he was just so bad at
he
it.
was terrible at it. And I was like, and also he's younger than us and didn't realize probably, and like,
Yeah.
it's like, you just,
You sound so
you sound so stupid.
stupid
Just be normal. Just be yourself, bro. You sound
at
dumb.
this point. Like, just, yeah,
You know, like, what are you're trying to fool us? You're pissing me off. You think we're fucking stupid? Yeah,
so wild.
it's tough. I mean, I've definitely had struggles with like cussing at work.
Mm,
Like I always cuss a little too much with like
hmm
my bosses and my managers and stuff. And sometimes I take it for granted. And then you test it, you know, like sometimes you test it, but sometimes I just straight up miss the cue like I'm supposed to not say something. And I say it and I get lucky. I get lucky because like maybe I've done something else or I've carried myself a certain way that they're like, "Oh, like that's just
It's weird because,
okay."
like, I've cussed my whole life. My dad is a terrible
Yeah, your dad
person.
is a foul-mouthed pirate.
So, like, I've, as a kid, me and my friends were, like, always cussing. Like, we were
Mhm.
fucking sailors. It was so
Mhm.
gross. And so I just like carried that on. But my mom didn't like when I cuss, and she didn't like when my brother cussed. So me and my brother were always very conscious of like not cussing in front of her for the longest time. So I think I'm good at
Like
knowing,
monitoring it,
yeah. So like
censoring yourself.
I it is like a code switch, honestly,
Yeah.
because I know, and I don't even have to think about it
Because you don't
anymore.
talk like that.
I don't think about it anymore
You don't. You cuss a lot when
when I'm
when
normal.
we're just talking. You know, we cuss like nonstop.
But
It's
yeah.
hard. It's hard not to. In some things, it's hard not to be like, oh, I don't know. Like I'm like helping someone with their computer, and I'm like, what is this shit? You know, like,
Yeah.
and then they're just like,
Unless I'm like in pain or something, I'm like, fuck.
yeah, like an understandable
Yeah.
situation, but just a casual. interaction with someone.
Yeah, like,
Like
hey, bitch.
like you're like, that's crazy.
Like, I'm not gonna say that.
No. Or like,
Um,
you know, I say these motherfuckers a lot at work, and I find myself like talking like that with like the presidents and like the VIP people. And I'm like, oh shit. But then, you know,
you know,
I've gotten lucky.
I for a minute I thought I was above being like, no, I don't say the word like bitch anymore. Like I grew out of it. It's fine. But
No,
you know what? I didn't, and
you
it's
didn't.
actually still really funny.
Yeah, you did. You did. It's
It's still really funny to me to be like, if I get a call from somebody and they're like, "Hey, bitch, what are you doing?" And I just like, it cracks me up, and I'm like, "Yeah, I am the bitch. You're a bitch too." Like, I still, it's very endearing,
yeah,
honestly.
between bitches.
Yeah, between, and it might just be a ghetto thing. I don't know, but like, yeah, I thought I grew out of it. I didn't.
Yeah,
I still like it a lot, actually.
it is endearing. I mean, in the workplace, you find people that you talk to like that, like, you know, the controller at work
Yeah.
when he calls me.
You know, I also think is funny, puta.
Puta. I like puta. That's
Like
just so
people
stupid.
call you puta.
She's being a puta.
Hey, puta. I think it's hilarious. Babe, we're already at an hour.
Oh, well,
I'm gonna
anyways,
wrap this up.
we gotta wrap these putas up.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna finish my story because
It sounded long.
it wasn't even long. It was just how the controller and I talk at work. But yeah. I mean, I did not plan to talk about fucking work. I thought
Me
we were gonna talk
neither.
about something else.
I
What
honestly
were we
didn't
saying we were gonna
know,
talk
but
about?
like I knew that work stuff would get you going because it's something we've been working on and
Yeah,
talking
it's
about.
relevant.
So yeah. And then I was just like, oh, what am I going to say? I'm burnt out, and that's why this episode's late.
Oh,
I don't want to talk about it right now.
rough,
Yeah.
rough. Yeah, it's alright. It's just one day late. It's not a big deal.
I know, but overall, I've just been
It's
a
still
little
an
more
episode.
burnt out, and so
It's
there's
tough.
like less effort in my stuff lately, but I'll come back.
I mean, we got
Uh,
new stuff coming. Little tiny details are coming, right? So,
I'm gonna come back.
yeah, she's working on some little things, you know, nice little cute things.
Cute things.
But if you guys have suggestions for great guests
Oh
for Alexis
yeah.
to interview, reach out to the podcast. I'm being seriously podcasts on Instagram.
If you've made it this far, thanks and
Text us.
congratulations. Yeah, wait, I don't know why all the episodes say text me.
Did you add that?
I didn't put my phone number there.
What? How does it go to you in an email?
I have no idea.
What? How does it?
I just noticed that on like the Spotify or
How does
something.
it go to
It'll
you?
say like text me
But
or
how does it go
text
to
us.
you?
I have no idea.
How did you receive the one I sent?
In an email.
That's what I'm asking. It goes to
Oh.
you an email. So,
Yeah, if you want, text us, but just know I didn't put that. Don't
oh,
text me.
well, don't
Just
text my
kidding.
girlfriend.
You can text
Fucking
me.
text the
No,
podcast.
just email or whatever, and just know I didn't put text me.
She didn't put text me, so if you
If you think I really
think she wants to
put
text her
text
like
me,
that,
like, don't text
don't
me.
be texting her. But you know what? Don't even look at her, right? Don't even put your eyes on her.
No, but seriously, if you have suggestions, go ahead and let me know.
If you got guests, send the name of your guests, how to contact them, when they're available, and why you think they're a good fit.
No, you don't have to do all that. Just be like,
And also send $5 to
yeah,
Slept on Venmo. Um,
yeah.
yeah, and that's just for me. Okay,
And we'll end here.
and here, putas.
Bye.